What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Kumite Lifestyle. Today's episode is special because it's not just another guest, it's someone I've known for a long time. Brett Thomasson and I have a solid professional relationship over the years, and I've respected his consistency, his leadership, and his passion for martial arts and teaching. In this episode, Brett and I take it all the way back from our early days in Isshinryu karate to what it really takes to build longevity in this art. We talk about perseverance, goal setting, and how the lessons from the dojo translate into real life as parents, as teachers, and mentors. You'll hear about his 30-year journey, what it felt like to win big at the Diamond Nationals, and how he's shaping the next generation through his Youth Leadership Academy and martial arts training. This one is about growth, resilience, and staying true to your purpose. So sit back, hit that subscribe button, and get ready for an awesome conversation with my good friend, Brett Thomasson, right here on the Kumite Lifestyle Podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Kumite Lifestyle. And today we are joined by one of my long-lost martial arts friends, I feel. And I say lost because, man, it's been a while since I've seen Brett Thomasson. And just so the viewers know, Brett and I, we do martial arts, but we also do a specific type of karate, which is Isshinryu karate. And, man, I remember us competing at the Isshinryu Hall of Fame many years ago, and man, it's crazy how time flies. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And Brett, how's it going?
Well, thank you, Nick, so much for having me on. I think that you're exactly right. It feels like we competed against each other just a couple of years ago, but it's
Yeah.
but it's probably been a lot closer to like a decade or something. Um, but yeah, I appreciate you having me on. This is exciting, and it's exciting to see you. We'll send every couple of years we get a message on social media or a text message back and forth or something. But it's great to actually get to sit down with you. You know.
Yeah, man, for sure. And it's awesome to be able to connect in this way because I was just saying, like right before we hopped on, how it's like it took a Zoom call or like a Zoom meeting to, see you face to face. But I get it, man. Life's busy, and I know you're, doing great things with martial arts and your school, and of course, a family man. And I think the last time that I saw you, it was you and your wife, Christina, and we were at the Hall of Fame. Ah, man, I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 2010, 2011. And do you remember I had my own like almost like a little penthouse room at
Oh
the
my
Hall of Fame?
goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 I did not remember that until right now.
Yep.
But yeah.
And yeah, because we were supposed to go to the after party, but I was like, no, like let's just chill here.
No,
And
let's just
and like
hang
I
out.
think it was
Yeah.
like an all night thing. It was just the three of us. And
Yeah.
yeah, man, like that was cool. And I had Kim Platt on the other day. She's another Isshinryu
Uh-huh.
practitioner, and I was telling her, I was like, man, like like traveling to tournaments is fun. Competing is fun, but there's never enough time in between for folks to really connect. It's almost just a quack. I'm sorry, it's like a quick passing, like, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Good luck. But I'm glad that we had that moment to really just connect, and that's something, man, that I'll always remember because I don't remember how I do at most tournaments, especially growing up, but I do remember the traveling and the adventures and those little moments like that, man. So it's pretty cool.
I love that. It's one of our big things, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I feel like you and I have a very similar path, through competition and getting into teaching and working to kind of bring that next generation up. And that's one thing that with my own students as we travel and compete that I really try and push is that it's great to go and do these competitions, but there's more to it, right? So we have even some of our own competition team students. I'll give them specific tasks at each tournament. We always like to set goals, and goals I think are a huge thing in not just in martial arts but in life, right? And so sometimes our goal is to go out and win the overall grand championship. Sometimes our goal is to place in the top three. But I have some kids that their goal is you have to meet someone at this tournament. You have to make a friend. You have to and for whatever reason, maybe to help help reinvigorate their love or their passion for what we're doing. Maybe just to maybe we've got a shy kid who's coming out for the first time or something, or maybe they just need a win in their life, and let's go, let's make a friend, let's meet somebody from another state, let's meet somebody who has a similar interest as us. And I think that that's really important, and that's one thing that, I think you and I have cultivated over the years, is this mutual respect, this bond, this man, we're gonna be fierce competitors against each other when we're in the ring, and then after, let's hang out, and let's have some fellowship, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Love
man.
that.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I love the fact that you shared about the goal setting because I don't think that just starts, from early on, as far as like competing. I think that goal setting naturally happens from the first time we step into the dojo. And I know you said how we're kind of comparing because I started my journey at age 6, and I know that you started your journey around that time too. So
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
man, our paths were kind of very similar in that sense, where it was kind of almost not predetermined, but it was set in a way because we're blessed to have great instructors and just that path where, yeah, goals were naturally kind of just being set whether we knew it or not. And, whether we were just training just to have fun or training to compete, like, for the next tournament. But when we got to the tournament itself, because competition karate and I guess you would say regular karate or the self-defense karate, it's all one and the same. But when you're focusing on different, facets of it, you really do get a lot of different, as I say, pros and cons out of it. And I feel the pros definitely way more than the cons. But I love the fact that you mentioned that for your students, you allow them or challenge them to meet other people because that's something that just for me, man, and I'm sure for you because I feel like you've been well, I know for a fact you've done a lot more circuits than I have, so you've met a lot of great people through martial arts, and I feel like if you're doing it for the right reasons, regardless of the wins or losses, you meet people and like you become friends with them for a lifetime. And even if you don't get to see them as much as you want, just, a simple text message or a simple like or, comment on social media, man, that's awesome. So I love that you've kind of and I'm not surprised by no means, just seeing your maturity over the years from being, the competitor Brett that I knew all those years ago to the man you are now. It's crazy what the martial arts can do for you if you believe in it and you just give it time. So let's start with that. So talk about goal setting and when you first started. So tell the viewers, when did you first start? Like how old were you? And if you can remember, why did you start?
So this is my story, and this is what I say all the time, even now when I have new students come in, and it's so cool to watch pop culture kind of shift and
Oh
move
yeah.
around. Um, I started I started when I was 6 years old. It was right before first grade, so that back to school boom when everybody's signing up for their new activities,
Yeah.
and I'd been begging my parents to sign up for karate classes. I wanted to do karate because I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle or a Power Ranger. That
Oh,
was
Power
it. That
Rangers
was
too.
that
Yeah.
was that was my generation, and that was what we wanted, right?
Yeah.
And so I begged my mom, sign me up for karate classes. I want to be a Ninja Turtle. And to this day, people will still ask me, why are you still doing this? Why do you still do it? What's the deal? Well, I'm still not a Ninja Turtle, so I'm still working towards that. But I started because of that's what was cool when I was a kid, was Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, and that's what I wanted to do. And my mom took me in, and we just so happened to get lucky that we were up the street from a great studio, and we went in, and they wanted my mom to this sign me up for this program that was going to be 6 whole months. And
Mm.
my mom thought there was no way that I was going to last 6 months in a karate program.
And yeah, and just so the viewers understand, 6 months for a kid is a lifetime. So I can see why, like I'm not a parent myself, but I know you
Yeah.
are. But kind of reflecting on what your mom said, I can see why she would think 6 months would be like, yeah, there's no way he's going to do that.
Yeah. And here we are 30 years later. It's my
Yeah.
30th year in martial arts, 30 years later. It's been continuous. So I think it was a good decision. It was a good
Oh,
decision, Mom.
for for sure, and I love how you said the Power Rangers because at my sixth birthday party, I got the original Mighty Morphin's Power Ranger, the one that just came out
Uh-huh.
with Ivan Ooze, and dude,
Yes.
it was so
Yes.
cool. But I knew my parents were like, yeah, like if he's gonna be watching all this, not bad material, but like you said, because Power Rangers was the thing at the time,
Hmm.
because my parents being so grounded and disciplined as they are, they knew that they wanted to put me in something that was going to be, beneficial, but also kind of teach me the right way to do it. And, for us kind of being introduced that way, because unlike yourself, karate wasn't something that I wanted to do. I kind of knew it was a thing, but I remember my very first class and Mrs. Rigby, she was holding the white belt which at the time I didn't know that you had to earn that because I got my gi top in my pants, so I'm wearing these white pajama bottoms that my dad's helped me get on. And then I
Hmm.
remember in the hallway, she's holding my the belt that goes in with my gi. And so like I remember like I tried to snatch it and she was like, like you have to earn this. So I was like, man, like okay. So like day one, like I was already messing up. So how was your day one class, bro? Like or like the first couple of classes, do you remember those moments? So all right, so we get why you started
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, but your very first class. And I always say to the kids, like, I'm teaching jujitsu, karate, guys, I was there for your first class. I remember, but do you remember your very first class at all?
Yeah, I love that. I do the same thing with our kids. They'll come in and you know, they're 6 or 8 years into the program and they've been here and I still remember the very first time you stepped on the mat.
Yep.
I remember getting my uniform and my belt and we signed up, we got everything, and we went out to the car, and I didn't get to put it on. I didn't get a chance to put it on or anything. And we opened the uniform and the belt. My brother and I are in the back seat, and we just stretched this belt out, very long belt, and we're like, what? Who is this gonna fit? This belt is so big. That's what I remember about getting my first uniform. Because we had no idea what
Yeah.
was going on. And eventually, I got to go in for my actual first class, and I remember um, I remember they taught me. I was so young. They taught me how to do push-ups that day. Like I didn't know how to do push-ups, and so I remember we learned that, and then. Um, there were a couple of junior instructors who helped me out, and I remember getting in a horse stance and learning how to punch for the first time, and in your gi, learning how to punch and counting in this crazy language that I didn't know what we were talking about, but I felt like a Power Ranger. I felt like an instru I felt like a superhero, like strong and powerful and like I could do anything,
Yeah.
right? And it's so crazy how in class number one, like that's how you feel,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a surreal thing because even at such a young age as kids, because it's it's crazy what we remember, what we don't, but I feel like we definitely remember the most profound moments that definitely, I don't want to say shaped us at the time, but even as a kid, like, yeah, this is pretty cool. Like, not everyone gets to do this. And I'm sure you tell your students this, and I'm sure you would agree that, martial arts is like a superpower. And it's like the quote from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And I know as we kind of shift, like, later into our careers, we know how, like, how true that is. So you remember your very first class, and I love the belt analogy with your brother and you. Um, talk about your instructors and
Yeah, yeah. So with the uniforms and things, we had no idea what was going on, and I went into class and I learned from some junior instructors and some people like that, and then eventually I got to take class with our head instructor, with Terry Kramer,
yeah,
and he was my first instructor, and from from the moment that we went into that studio, we knew that he was like the guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So and if you don't know who Terry Kramer is, in the sport karate world, he was a pretty big deal,
Yeah.
especially in the early to mid 90s, which was when I started martial arts. And so we walked into the studio, and we got to see him, and just phenomenal martial artist, phenomenal athlete, phenomenal speaker and leader, in the room. And he just had this like presence about him where you're like, oh, that is that's the guy.
Yeah.
Um, and Sensei, to that's who he is, right?
Yeah.
Since
Yeah.
to this day, in my phone, I'll say, call Sensei. It goes straight to him, right? That's who he is.
Yeah.
And so in my own studio now, I'm Sensei Brett. We have a Sensei Dominic helps us teach classes. We have other instructors from other schools with different titles, but Mr. Kramer is Sensei. That's
Yeah.
it. He is the one, the guy,
He is the
and
man.
he's the man.
The
That is.
man, and someone that was in, and I've had a chance to meet Sensei Creamer over the years. Actually, I probably met him through you, just organically. And you're right, because I did some research. I was always a kid growing up that would research and email senseis from all over. So that's kind of how I started my own social media,
Mhm.
connecting without even realizing it was social media at the time. Because we grew up in such a time where we kind of missed that early stages of Instagram, Facebook, because I wasn't
Yeah,
to like what, like later 2000, 2008, 2009, and then we were already
yeah.
established, whether we were just graduated high school or college. So it's interesting, and you said how like pop culture changes. So the martial arts has really changed just as a whole from the time that we started to now, because I remember, going back, man, like Master Rigby, and for those I don't know, he was my instructor, Master Reese Rigby, over here on the East Coast, and kind of that old school mentality, because we had like packed classes every day. And I just feel like karate, there was more of an interest for it way back then than there is now. And I know that you've also cross trained too, so like we'll definitely get into that. So you're training as a young kid, right? You're like, starting to find your way, and you
Mhm.
have an awesome mentor in Sensei Creamer. So I'm curious, was it around that time, Brett, that you knew competing was something that was going to be like, all right, like this is something that I'm going to do? Did you ever feel forced to compete? Because I like to ask, my guests that do karate that question, because sometimes it's loaded and sometimes it's kind of not personal, but it can be like, maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but I don't feel that was the case for you. But talk about your early,
No, no, of course not. We always had, Mr. Kramer was competing a lot,
yeah,
and he was traveling all over, and we did, everything, every circuit, open circuits, traditional circuits. We did it all, and we always had a very strong competition team.
yeah,
And it wasn't it. I say competition team, but it wasn't like a team. It was just our school. Like everybody kind of went. That was just the culture that we had built. No, it wasn't ever like we weren't forced to go, but it was
hmm
like, hey, everybody's going.
yeah,
Everybody's going. And and then I remember, as I got a little bit older, we would load up our school van, and everybody would go. We'd have a couple parents with us, and a bunch of kids, and we'd all go. There was a big tournament in the 90s, 2000s, in Louisville, Kentucky, called the Bluegrass Nationals. It
yeah,
was a big NASCA, open event, and we used to go, and we would have these double hotel rooms, and
hmm
we'd have two or three moms with us and 20 kids in the room. Just everybody on the floor. sleeping, and then you're only in the room for when you're sleeping, then the rest of the time you're
Yeah.
running, you're going everywhere. But that was so much fun, and real like formative experience for all of us. That's where we made. I talked earlier about making friends. That's where we all became close friends,
Yeah.
right? Um, but but those types of experiences were really what drove competition. You know,
Yeah.
everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go and win. But we would go to tournaments and win first, second, and third place would be kids all from our school in the same division, and um, but we'd be hanging out, right? We'd be hanging out, we'd be having fun, we'd be running, laughing. We were friends, and that was what we did.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't ever a like, oh, you're forced to do it. It was like you get to do this. You get to go be with your friends and have fun, and you know
Yeah.
that's what it was all about.
Yeah. And I love that you just said that you get to compete. Like you don't have to do it. And I feel that's the same now where it's like we don't have to teach. We get a chance to teach and, spread our knowledge and, our passion. So, man, that's awesome that you talked about, just, being in the hotel room with all those kids and, the two to three moms. And that's what the memories really, kind of stem from. So early on as a competitor, man, like when did you know you were good? Or when did you say to yourself, I don't want to just be the
Ooh.
average competitor? Like when did you start having success?
So this is the thing that I think is really important to a lot of competitors and for a lot of people to understand. We never we never went out to win, right? We trained good karate,
Hmm.
and then we went and we looked for competition. We didn't we didn't say, "Oh, this was going to be I think we can win this tournament, so let's go here." We said, "Oh, this tournament has good people. Let's go there and challenge ourselves." And because we were going like as a school, it's not like I got to pick the tournaments, right? I showed up. I went to a lot of tournaments
Oh, yeah.
or before I ever placed or did well at all. Um,
Before
I
you
think
became Brett
I
Thomasson,
I
basically.
think that I competed for maybe 2 full years before I ever won a trophy.
Now, how
And that
old were you though? Like, was this still
so
early on in your
yeah,
career?
I started competing at 7.
Yep.
And so at 7 years old, I went to my first tournament, and I got, you know, back then the divisions were big. I'm sure I got, an 11th place or something like that, probably.
Yeah.
I got a participation medal. I know that.
Oh
I got
no,
a medal.
not a
I got a
participation
medal.
medal.
I got a medal. I was so excited. I'm all about participation medals for kids, man. I
Uh,
got that medal, and
yeah.
I was like, I did something. I can do this, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't get another medal for a while. So
No.
I got that one. But about 2 years before I ever placed in the top three and actually won a trophy.
Yeah.
Um, and that was a big moment for me. And then I mentioned earlier that we would go to tournaments and get like the kids from our school would get first, second, and third for a lot of the tournaments that we would go to.
Yeah.
I was third place. I very very much. I'll give some shout outs to some guys that don't do martial arts anymore. Rob Anderson and Michael Jones would get first and second place, and they would kind of swap. They were great, for 7, 8 years old, whatever we
Yeah.
were. Actually, Michael went on to play some professional soccer. He's a fantastic athlete. But those guys, I would be third place all the time.
Yeah.
And something happened um, around the time I was maybe 11. Something happened where I won, and it was like a switch. Something clicked,
Yeah.
and once I won, nothing really changed with how I was training, or I guess maybe some things did change with how I was training, but what really changed was my mindset, was that I thought, "Oh, I can actually do this. I can
Yeah.
actually maybe I can do that. And then once I started to win, then I won a lot. And
Yeah.
that's when I then started to kind of take it upon myself to seek out the better competition. And I've gone through a lot of periods in my life of winning a lot and a lot of periods in my life of not winning. And
Yeah.
I think they're both equally important, you
Oh
know?
yeah, for sure. And you said something where, for 2 to 3 years, you weren't the guy winning, whether you didn't place or, whether you got third place behind the homies that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact, man, that was probably, in that small chunk of time, even as such a young competitor, those moments define you, man. Because like you said, it's not the wins, it's really those setbacks that say, "Dang, it's like I have a choice here. Do I continue doing this, or do I continue just to say, you know what? Let's train, let's get better." And during that process, man, because it's like that for myself and any athlete or any facet of life, it's those setbacks and realizing like, okay, either I want to do it because it's really that small percent of folks that continue doing something even if they're not having success. And then you talk about that moment where you kind of have your breakthrough. And it does seem like, man, it's like, I get it now. Like, I get where, once you win, it kind of becomes a little contagious, but you've gone through all I don't want to say suffering, but you went through all the growing curves. And of course, it's ongoing where you're like, no, like, I know what it took to get here. And I want to commend you, bro, because I mean, how many people do we know growing up that were amazing, even better than us? And where are they now? So I think the
Right.
people that last, it's like we're the champions, bro, because like we didn't give up on something that made us who we are. And it's not to say that those folks that, ventured out to other things in life, whether it's marriage, family, or job. So I'm sure they're doing great in their own right. But talking from realms of martial arts, this is who we are as people, and like I was talking to, Sensei Howard Steele a while back, like I don't know life without karate. I don't know life without martial arts. And it's those wins, it's those losses, or I mean, we can substitute the word loss with learning, and
Right. Right.
I go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
I think that process is so important. I think that process is of figuring out that if I work hard, then good things can happen. I think that that's so important. I'm going through that right now with my son. He kind of did the same thing. He started out he competed and he saw, since he was a little baby, he was going to tournaments with me, and so he saw dad compete, so he wanted to compete,
Yeah.
and he he didn't do great, right? His first couple times out, and then he started playing hockey, and it was the same thing. He didn't do great. But we've kept this mindset of, if we practice and we work hard and we set little goals, that good things happen. And so we start reaching those little goals, and now he's found some success. And I think that that can be true with anything, whether it's a sport or something else. We just last year he learned how to ride his bike, and I actually have it's a pretty cool video because I filmed the whole thing. But he fell down on his bike, and he fell down on his bike, and he looked up at me and he's like, I can't do this. I said, you can do this. You know how to you know how to set goals. You know how to keep your balance. You've set the goal to do this. You can keep your balance. If you look forward, you look where you're going and you pedal hard, you can do it. And he picked his bike back up and he's like, okay. And he starts pedaling, and he did it. He already had the foundation of like being able to balance pretty well,
Yeah.
but he took off, and as soon as he got it, he was like, "Oh man, I can do this," which is as a parent always what you want to see for your kids, right? Those light bulb moments that go off that, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can do this," you
Yeah.
know?
No, that's so cool. And you were and mentioning how you were kind of naturally instilling all those things that you learned as a competitor. Now you're kind of transforming that and transcending that to fatherhood and just saying like, hey, you can do this. I think that's great for, us being competitors. I mean, I'm not a father myself, and so it doesn't really resonate with me the same that it does you, but you can share that wisdom. You can share like, man, like this is what it's like to work hard, if you want it, bad enough. So, man, that's awesome that your sons had a chance to watch you. But I'm curious, when you were watching your son compete, um, does it ever get frustrating because because you know how good someone can be and you know how good you are, but was it more of like a humbleness, like, okay, maybe he's not as good as me or maybe he's not as good as me yet, but like what are those raw emotions that you feel as a parent when you are watching your kid out there?
Well, first of all, he's way better than me. He's way better than I was at 7 years old.
Really? That's awesome, bro.
7 years old, 8 years old. Yeah, he's way, way better. Um, but it's the same thing whether it's my own son or another student or my daughter, um, where you give them all the tools, but then you kind of have to sit back and let them do it, and you kind of ride those highs and lows with them.
Yeah.
It gets it gets emotional because you've put so much in there and you know what they're capable of, but sometimes they don't know what they're capable of yet. So like just with him riding the bike, I knew that he could do it, but he had to know he could do it.
Yeah.
No, it's the same thing in if they're out in a sparring match or something, and you know that they know these techniques, they know these moves, they have the strategy, but if they don't think that they can really pull it off, then you know it it doesn't matter how many times they've practiced it if they can't like actually perform when it's time to perform, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I love how you said like he's much better than you were at 7 and that like isn't that awesome just to know that, it's like all the hard work that I did, now you can compare that. You're like, no, he's exactly where he needs to be and just being kind of real in that sense, man. And I love that you use the analogy of the students too, because it transcends whether it's your own kids or whether it's your own students, because ultimately as a sensei, right? Like you want the best for them. So I definitely want to kind of dive a little bit into parenthood and just a little bit about your family that you feel comfortable sharing. But before I do, going back to your days as a competitor, was like what was a one I don't want to use defining because you kind of said that when you did your breakthrough that one time and you started winning, but is there one tournament that's memorable to you that's like, man, like when I think about my days competing, like it just sticks out to your head, something that you could share with anyone. They say, man, like what was your favorite competition?
That's a really loaded question. I know some people that are that are great at pulling up out of their memory. Oh, I fought this person at this place on this day, and the score was this, and that's
Yeah,
not me. That's not how my mind works. I don't remember. I think you mentioned this earlier. You're like, I don't remember how I did. I don't
yeah,
remember who I competed against. I don't. I remember being there and I remember the feeling of doing it, but I'm always looking for the next thing, right?
yeah,
So even now I'm 36 and I have people ask me sometimes, when are you going to stop competing? When are you going to retire? And I think it's really important for me to continue to have and set goals because that's what keeps me motivated, right? That's what
yeah,
keeps me training hard. And it's not necessarily to go out and win, but to go out and be able to perform, right? Um, Last year, I went to a tournament called the Diamond Nationals in Minnesota, and I won the men's senior overall grand championship. And you win a diamond ring, and that's one of kind of the
legit.
pinnacles
Wow.
of something that I've been working towards and that I've seen and I've heard about since I was a young kid. And so to be able to win that uh last year at 35 years old was exciting. And that was a big thing. And then actually I got to be presented with my ring on stage by my instructor, by Mr. Kramer. And so that was a big, like, kind of a full circle moment for me. So that was exciting. I remember When I was a lot younger, the first time that I won a first place at a big national tournament, which was Bluegrass Nationals, I mentioned earlier, that was a big moment for me. Kind of one of those clicking moments where it's like, okay, I could actually do this.
Yeah,
Um, the first time that I competed internationally, that was a huge thing. The first time that I um, won a world championship through NASCA. First time I won a world championship through the WKA.
I
Those
remember
are
that.
those are all
Yeah,
big moments, right? Um, but we're always kind of focused on the next thing. We're always kind of focused on that next step, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's interesting how you say the next step because I feel as humans, right, we always want to get to a certain point, and then once we get there, we realize like, oh, that was it. Like what's next? So just, I think that mindset's great. And I remember when you went to the WKA, and I remember the picture you had with the U.S. flag draped over your
Yeah,
shoulders, bro. So that's pretty cool. Man, it's crazy what we remember when it's kind of brought back up into existence or speaking into existence. So yeah, man, I really enjoyed watching your career, and I was just curious, was there one particular moment that was like your all-time favorite? And you mentioned about the Diamond Nationals. I didn't realize that they even did that, and that is pretty special. No tournament that I know gives you a diamond ring, so
yeah. That
that's
was
that's pretty
that
special.
that was a cool thing. And one of my favorite things about that was after winning that, you're kind of in a club. And so then I had other people who had previously won come up and congratulate me and talk to me, and they're like, "Oh, let me see your ring. Here's my ring." And they look exactly the same. But you're like, "Oh, that's so cool."
Yeah,
Um so that was a big moment for me. Plus, both my kids were there and got to see it, and so it's a
yeah.
huge moment. Yeah,
Yeah, and because it's a token of all your hard work. So it's like you worked for that diamond ring as they say. So awesome, dude.
yeah.
Hey, let me ask you this. So I was just thinking as you were talking about NASCA and WKA, and this is conversation that I sometimes have with other athletes from other what's the word? Organizations. So we
Mhm.
have AAU, USA and KF, Olympic Karate. And, I feel like you're a subject matter expert as far as your years competing, and you've definitely competed way more than I have. But what is your position on, or where's your stance on Olympic karate? So I know USA Karate or the NKF is is currently kind of like the holder of that, but
Mhm.
man, karate is so widespread and there's so many factions, organizations, politics, people that want to be in charge. Which personally, Brett, that's why karate will never be a consistent Olympic sport because there's no unified sanctioned group. Now, one could say, well, there is. It's called USA Karate. Like, okay, well, if we can agree that USA Karate is the governing body, why do you, why is there AAU? And if AAU is the counterpart or kind of like the feeder program, that's great because I did AAU. I did AAU, as you know, and it was
Yeah.
great. I loved it. However, it's still not USA Karate. And then you have NASCA. Then you have all these other, quote unquote top, groups that want to claim that they're the best, or maybe they don't, maybe not claiming, but ultimately, these promoters want to be the best. So, man, what's your take on like what's up with karate not being a unified thing? And do you think it will ever be unified?
We might need another episode for this, but yeah, I think that you're exactly right. From the highest levels to the smaller local and regional levels, I think within the martial arts, there's a hierarchy that's built, right? And you see that in pretty much any martial arts school that you walk into. And at the top of that school is somebody who is used to being in charge and
Yep.
calling the shots.
Yep.
And I think that it's a very hard thing to put a lot of people together in a room that are all used to being in charge and calling the shots and have them come out with a cohesive plan that benefits everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that has been detrimental to the growth of our sports. Um, that's from a local and regional level.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. From a national and international level, I think that we probably see that as well.
Yeah.
I would love to see um, karate in the Olympics again.
Yeah.
Uh,
More consistently too.
more consistently. There are phenomenal athletes
Yes.
that are that are all doing their thing from kata to kumite. It's amazing to see more like a an open style
Division. Yeah.
division. That would be awesome. There are phenomenal athletes there that just don't have the platform or opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, from your point fighting, whether it's like a NASCAR style or a Waco style. There are a lot of people kind of vying for a higher tier,
Yeah.
right? Um, and if we could work together, that'd be fantastic. I think everybody always says that, right? If we could work together, it'd be better.
Yeah.
But we can't even get consistent rules across the board.
Oh my
So
gosh, yes. Dude, yeah, before I share my segment on that part about the rules, I definitely agree with you where people, like you take the top chiefs, if you will, in the same
yes,
room, forget about it, bro. Just because as humans, right, we always want to because, something that I've learned in the martial arts, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. But the problem is, a lot of people don't care about the masses. They only care about what's going to benefit them. And you're right, man. It's so detrimental just to the growth of karate because, man, like, how many times have you seen these kids? And I'll even put us in the same, equation. But like, you see all these kids pouring their heart and souls and parents, spending thousands and thousands of dollars working overtime for what? And I hate to be, I hate to be negative, but it's like, okay, like you're doing AAU, like you're doing NASCA, and you want to be an Olympic champion. Guess what? That's not a reality right now if you're sticking to this, like, this linear, like, platform. I'm
mm,
not saying that's not possible, but then what? Like, you got to make the decision. Like, okay, if I really want to go the Olympic route, I have to go into the organization that's quote unquote, accepting how I do kata or not, or forms, whatever you want to call it, but so many people like so many of us are so ingrained in what we already know. It's like why do I need to change how I do karate so I can so I can better suit you guys? You know what I mean? Like,
what we see a lot now though are a lot of crossover athletes,
yeah,
and it's amazing. I love it. I said earlier that my son now is better than I was at 7 years old. Um, all of these athletes now are
yeah,
better than we were, and they should be, right? That's how things progress,
yeah,
right? Um, but but some of these kids now are phenomenal. They're absolutely amazing karateka,
yeah.
absolutely amazing athletes, and
Well, look
just
at the
the
resources they have: social media,
right.
Instagram, TikTok. Because now, like we can go on TikTok, Instagram, and look at like a 30-second clip of some kid training out, let's say in Wyoming.
Hmm.
Never heard of him, but he could be phenomenal. I'm like, wow, like that's pretty cool. So now all these kids are seeing all these different influences. So it's no wonder they're good. But,
Yeah,
I mean, as we know, social media has its pros and cons, but the pros in this sense is they have a lot more resources. Plus, even just Zoom, being able to just connect this way. Now you can do like Zoom private lessons with an instructor
right,
all the way on the other side of the world. Like, bro, we didn't have that,
right, right. If we wanted to, when we were coming up, it was you were kind of compared to the people in your studio. If you
Yep.
went out to tournaments, you got to compare against the other people at the tournaments. If you got lucky, you got to go do a seminar with somebody that
Yeah.
was great. But
Keyword lucky. If you
yeah,
get the
right,
chance to.
right. Um, Now you can hop on Zoom, hop on social media, and do anything,
I
right?
know.
Which is amazing. It's absolutely great for kids that are coming up now.
Yeah, I
So
agree. man, that's it's crazy how just the different perspectives and even just sharing our different, I guess, insight on the whole facet of karate and even just martial arts. So now let's kind of leap forward now. So now you're an instructor. Go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
Well, let you said something just a second ago about connection. You said that people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And
Yes.
that is like I when I got my degree in education, that was the tagline, right? When I was teaching in schools and high schools, that was the tagline. And it
I, lo-
was it
I
was
love it.
about making connection.
Yeah.
And so I have a leadership team in my school, and recently we've taken that leadership team and kind of expanded it into its own entity called Youth Leadership Academy, and that's like the segment that we are on is making connections. And I think that that's such an important thing. Um, Anytime that you're leading or making decisions or trying to work or collaborate with people, and making that connection to figure out who cares about who and who cares about what, and if you care about others, like being able to actually care and make a connection in order to drive something like martial arts forward. I think that's a huge thing that sometimes we're missing, as
Yeah.
a society, as people. um I think we always have to have connection, before we can before direction, connection before direction, before we
Yeah.
can move anywhere, right?
Yep. I agree, man. And it's crazy how like, we can hear a quote like that and we're like, yeah, it sounds great, but when we're actually in the field or an industry where it's like, man, like we've been tasked to teach kids, teens, adults, people of all walks of life, man, if that's not such a profound statement or one of the most important, like you said, or like the tags that you
Yeah.
mentioned, it's so critical. And you were a school teacher there for a while. Is that something that you still do, Brett?
I was. So I
You taught
taught,
hall school. I
I taught,
remember.
I taught high school. I taught high school for
That had to be
for 5 years. Um, it was great. I think when you talk to teachers and you ask what they teach, what most people expect to hear is I teach literature, I teach math, I teach science, but
Subject
but
matter.
that's
Yeah.
but that's not what teachers are teaching. Teachers are teaching kids,
Yeah.
and they have to make that connection. And whether it's math or science or martial arts, you have to make that connection. And so I taught in the high school for 5 years.
I remember.
And it was and it was great, but I was kind of constrained. I had the opportunity to jump out and teach martial arts full time and to do what I was really honestly passionate about and be able to have a bigger impact on kids. In the high school, you have a student for a semester, maybe you have them for an entire school year. But here in martial arts, I get to teach a kid for 4 years or 6 years or 10 years, you
Yeah.
know. I have some students now that I've known, almost their entire life. And to be able to have an impact on someone for that long is a really special thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you were a school teacher and then you jump over into the martial arts realm, if you will, now teaching full time. And I totally agree that it's definitely your calling, bro. And you definitely have that ability, that, that God-giving gift, if you will. So let's talk about being a school owner, because I know you're so
So yeah, so I jumped from teaching high school into a franchise. I had some friends that were teaching in that franchise as well, and
what's the franchise?
were Premier Martial Arts.
Yep.
And so I had some friends that were in the franchise, and they were close knit, and everybody kind of worked with each other, and it was an awesome thing for a couple of years. Um, I pretty much now uh, there's been some turmoil within the franchise. Uh, I pretty much now hang out by myself. I focus on my school, my students, and I focus on what's in my four walls.
Yep.
So I have a theory that I can control what I can control,
Hmm.
and that's all I can do. So I focus on what's in my four walls. I focus on my students and work on work on making sure that they have everything that they need, that they can learn and grow, and not just as martial artists, but as people. And that's I tell people all the time. I have the best job in the world.
Yeah.
I get to I get to hang out and make an influence on people, and sometimes they get to play with nunchucks, which is also fun. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that definitely resonates home because I'm in the same boat, being able to do this full time for the last 5 years. And it's crazy, when people ask what you do and you tell them like, oh, like I'm a martial arts instructor. And sometimes it's hard to explain how, like, I can give them like the nuance of what we do. Yeah, I teach kids, I teach adults, I teach self-defense, this or that, to kind of give them more of just a regular overall like statement, but I can't explain the feeling of how great this job really is. Sometimes it's hard to put into words. So when people say, "Oh, what do you do?" It's like, I help people." They're like, "Oh, that's so cool," and I'll just leave it at that, because
Yeah.
I can brag about my job all day, just like you can, but most people don't understand what we really get to do and the impact, and I'm sure you've, maybe have had that discussion. People ask what you do, and it's like you can only give them a small percentage without them realizing how impactful it is.
Right, right. No, and I get that quite a bit. People ask what we do. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh, I teach I teach karate. Oh, well, what else do you do? No,
Yes. I get that all the
that's
time.
yeah. What else do you do? No, that's it. That's what I do. That's my livelihood. It's my passion, but it's you know, everything.
Yeah.
It's the impact that you get to make. It's the um being able to give back and put good into the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's it, man.
Do
I,
you feel like you wear a lot of different hats when you're at the dojo? Meaning,
oh my goodness.
yeah, so let's talk
Yes.
about that because I love exploring and hearing the different nuances of what full-time instructors go through. And I'm sure a lot of what you will say is also resonates with me because, man, there were things that I learned about this profession that I didn't realize, beforehand. So what was some learning curves for you initially when tackled this thing teaching martial arts full time, bro?
Well, it's everything from um I started out with a partnership, and being able to navigate that was a learning process.
Yeah.
Um, but everything from uh, doing the marketing to doing the lesson planning to doing the cleaning of the
Thank you.
studio
That's the
to
biggest thing, bro.
so here's what I did. I'll talk about this for a
Yeah, yeah.
second. I was cleaning. I got to a point where we were able to cover all our bills and do all our things. And I said, okay, I'm gonna hire a cleaning company to come in
Yeah.
and clean the studio. And so I had a cleaning company come in, and we went through about three or four different companies, and nobody could quite get it right.
Hmm.
So I decided, all right, well, I'll bring somebody on staff. Their only job is to clean. But I'm cleaning a martial arts studio. It's 1,600 square feet. It's not huge. There's not a ton that they have to do, but I have to have an employee that I keep happy, right? And so actually hired a couple of employees and said, I already have a foothold in the community. I have this list of people. Let's see if we can make this into a business. And so actually started my own cleaning company. Had them
Art.
come in and do the studio, go out and do a couple houses in the neighborhood to just keep their schedules full. And that we kind of turned that into a business as well, which
That's
was
dude, that's so smart. I never even thought of that.
yeah. So that was um, that was kind of an experiment just to see, if we could do it and what we could do. So we kind of we grew that a little bit and then shrank it back down. So we've got now just our studio, a couple of easy clients, and that's it. Kind of all pays for itself, which has been fantastic. We make a little bit of money, and
Yeah.
and that's it. So, but but that was, yeah, the cleaning of the studio was,
It's
that's
my
always,
it's my least favorite part, bro, but it's the most important.
it is. You've got to have, especially if you're doing a lot of jujitsu, a lot of grappling, anything like that. Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
have to have clean mats, right? You have to keep everybody safe.
Yep.
That's an important thing, right?
And just for the overall presentation, it's like if I were to invite someone over to my house or my place, I would want to keep it clean and tidy. So I kind of translate that over into when people walk through the dojo doors, it's first impressions matter the most. And these are talks that, Sensei Steele and I have had many, many times just over the last 5 years. And I mean, I'm 35, but man, there's so many things in life that actually, let me rephrase that. There's very little, like, I'm only good at a couple things, bro.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you can add three podcasting now, but I'm still learning that. But everything else, bro. So I've learned a lot just on the go. And I think that's why I feel like when you're, in a business or you're working with, friends that become family, man, you can learn a lot and just being open-minded. But I didn't realize the magnitude of how just, having toilet paper available and, making sure the trash was taken out. These are things that I knew growing up, but when you look at it more from a consumer standpoint, like now when I go to restaurants or businesses, like I look at it now differently. I look like, okay, like how's the presentation? Like how's the restaurant set up? How's the bathroom? So it's crazy how just, what we do as martial artists and as full-time instructors, how that transcends over to different areas into like anything. I go to Wawa or like grocery stores, I'm thinking, all right, this place is pretty cool. Like I would work here just because of how it's, set up.
Uh-huh.
And like I never would have had that mindset maybe 5 years ago. It's like, okay, I'm going in to grab something. I don't care what it looks like, but you should care. And if students are paying, they deserve 100%, the best version of you, which is your school, it's awesome how like I've learned so much just on that side of things.
Hmm.
Things I didn't
Yeah, no,
realize that were important, but they definitely are.
yeah, I think so. And that's something that, I've learned. That's definitely, it's not my strong suit. So I gotta surround myself with people
Yeah.
that are good. I learned that early on in life. When I was in high school, I played music, I played guitar, I was in a couple
Yeah.
bands, and
Yep.
um, I always just tried to find the best musicians around me, um, who were willing to play with me. So then I didn't have to be so great, because I didn't have to be so good, because
Yeah.
those guys
You
were
bounce back
awesome.
off each other. Yep.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I do the same thing now. I want somebody who I know that I'm not the best at keeping up with keeping the studio clean. So let's hire somebody to do that. I know that I'm not the best at keeping our stats in our books, and that's really really important, right? To running a successful business. So let's bring somebody in that's their specialty, that they
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
My specialty definitely is being on the floor. My specialty is being on the floor and teaching great classes and teaching one on one, and being with kids, with I would say with students, but with kids. I'm not great at teaching adults. It's a different skill set. Um,
Interesting.
I'm I enjoy teaching kids, and there's with kids, I feel like there's a lot of upside, right? There's a lot of impact you can make.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's where I feel like I should be. And almost every business mentor I've ever had said, get off the floor, stop teaching class. But that's the thing I'm good at. That's the
Yeah.
thing I'm good at. It's the thing I enjoy.
Yeah.
And so we have some other instructors that help with us, and I have an awesome leadership team. that helps us teach classes. But I love to be on the class. I don't love running ads. I don't love making phone calls. I don't love doing those things, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so my passion's being on the floor and making an impact, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like being on the floor and actually teaching is only the small percentage of what we actually do.
right,
It is,
right.
but I'm the same way, man. Like I'd rather be doing something because at the end of the day, this is why I'm here. I signed up for this because I wanted to be out on the floor, the dojo, the mats, whatever you want to call it, out there, helping, impact and hopefully, these kids leave 1% better, than they did, when they came in. Um, yeah. Oh, I was going to ask something. I lost my thought. I'm sorry. Oh, when you are so when you're out there teaching, right? And you mentioned kids and adults. What's like why is teaching adults difficult for you? Because I've heard other instructors say the same thing. I would have just felt like just naturally over time it's two different programs. Kids are a heck of a lot more of a challenge, but it's a fun challenge, you know? Why is it, adults? Like why has that been a
It
struggle
is
for
for
you?
sure. So it's not that I don't enjoy teaching adults, but I do only have so much time available in the day.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of adults who are we do like private lessons one-on-ones, and that's actually what I moved my studio to. If you're an adult and you want to do a program, we kind of set you up with a one-on-one time because
Yep.
our our prime time in the evenings, we have kids classes and we're pretty full there. Um, but I enjoy teaching kids because there's a lot of upside. There's they learn quickly. They aren't embarrassed to do the things that are going to make them good, right?
Hmm.
If we're going to come up with a drill and it's going to be like a super fast pace or a funny drill or something like that, but it's going to make them better. A lot of times adults and teenagers who are just getting into it and aren't like brought up in the culture are gonna go, oh, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that. I don't know if I can do that. And teenagers will just tell you, oh, I don't think I can do that. That's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Adults will always say, ooh, I kind of have a bad knee. Oh, I think this is gonna hurt my shoulder, which some of those are legit, but some of
Sure.
them are just
Yeah, I know.
but you get an 8-year-old out there and you're like, all right, we're gonna do this drill. They're like, okay, yes, sir. They're, you know, they're game to do it.
And they're so
Um,
open-minded to doing it too, which is why
right.
like it's easier to coach them in that sense because you tell them to, run through the wall and they're gonna freaking do it. So
You're right. Right. And with kids too, they they're open to thinking about how great they could be, and if that's really what we're trying to instill, we're trying to teach and show people how great they can be.
yeah,
Kids are open to dreaming about that.
yes,
Whereas I find a lot of adults are kind of closed off. This is maybe I can get a little bit better, but I'm never going to be great.
yeah,
Whereas kids just think automatically. They come in on that first day when they get their uniform and they get their white belt and they're like, I'm going to be great. And that's the feeling that we want, the feeling that we continue
yeah.
to push after, right?
Yeah, it's crazy when we're kids, man. Our imagination is endless. It's wild, right? But somewhere, I don't know what age it is, and I'm no professional psychologist, but they say
Mhm.
at a certain age, whether it's through life experiences, but naturally that imagination kind of dims, and it's unfortunate where, I feel like us being who we are as instructors and, having a profession that's kind of uncommon, if you will, that spark imagination never left. We've just learned to kind of use it a little bit more that's efficient, which we can translate that over to our students. And you mentioned something about how adults they're kind of on the sometimes the defense on trying things, but I can tell you this, man, like when you see an adult try something even for the first time, like jujitsu, because one of the reasons why I love teaching jujitsu is because it's really teaches and enforces the idea that you can move your body in a way that you didn't think was possible. I mean, I tell adults like it's like, "Hey, how old are you?" They're like, "Oh, I'm 32." Great. How old are you? I'm 26. that's great. So for 26 years, you were naturally telling your body to move a certain way that was comfortable for you. Now, just in the short of like 3 weeks or sometimes 2 months, I've seen you move your body in a way that you probably never thought was possible. And I kind of just, like you said, that light bulb. So whether it's a kid, teen, or adult, that's what's special for me. And then you talk about, the community. People come for self-defense, but they stay for the community and for us as instructors. So just to kind of, caveat this whole discussion, do you ever feel like you're a counselor or a therapist sometimes for your students? Do you ever get students that come up to you and be like, hey, Sensei Brett, I have there's something going on in my life, and bro, like I'm not a marriage expert by no means, and like I said, there's things in my life that I just haven't experienced, but I've learned through other people's experience by telling them me it. So when someone says, "Hey, can I talk to you?" I'm like, "Hey, great, yes, you can." But just as a forewarning, I might not be the best person to give you advice, but I can listen to you. And it goes back to what we were saying. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. But I'm curious, like, of all the hats that you wear, have people ever felt comfortable enough to share their life stories with you, bro?
That is for sure, one thing that happens, and I think it happens with any great teacher, coach, instructor, mentor. Um, people realize that you really do care about them,
Yeah,
and then they come to you with the things that they're struggling with the things that they need help with. I've had everything from my own students, teenagers coming to me with I'm having this problem at school, to I'm having this issue with bullying, to I'm having this issue with my mental health or depression, to parents who either were my students or I was just their child was my student, and say I'm having, this problem in my marriage. I'm having this problem with my business. I'm having this problem with, just life in general. Um, and so we're definitely in that put into that role
yeah,
sometimes, whether qualified or not, but they feel that connection and they feel that you care, and that really helps open people up. And sometimes that's all they need. Sometimes that's all they need is for somebody
just
to
listen.
listen.
Yeah,
And then you sit back and listen, and they can come up with their own solution. But sometimes it's a little more serious, and you might have to make some phone calls and facilitate, connecting them with somebody else. Because
yeah,
a lot of times people can't make that jump on their own,
yeah,
right? And so as a great instructor, what are we doing other than leading people? And
yeah,
so we lead them to the person who can help.
yeah, man. No, dude, that's an awesome explanation and just your own interpretation of it. It's definitely something that it took me a little bit to kind of not get used to because it doesn't happen a lot. But yeah, there's times when students come to me and I just take a deep breath and say like, or it's like I remind myself, how would I want to be perceived, or like how would I want someone to help me if I was in their shoes, And
Right.
it's awesome that we have the opportunity to do just that. And I love the part you said, we're leading them, so why not help lead them into a direction where it's going to like best suit them. And something that I've learned a long time ago was we might not be the instructor for everyone, but man, best believe we can give them something, even if they're with us for a day or 2 weeks or 2 years. I'm going to give them the most authentic, raw, real version of Nick Arndt, just like you're going to give them the best version of Brett Thomasson.
That's exactly it, and I just had this conversation last week with a student who's been with me for a very long time, and she said, life is changing a little bit. And she's like, I might have to step back from martial arts. And I said, that's okay.
Yeah,
I don't love you any less. Like, let's talk about it, because you're not going to be here forever, right?
yeah,
Whether it's you are in martial arts forever and you go and do your own thing, but as a leader, like, I should be leading you to something,
yeah,
right? I should be leading you to something. I won't say it doesn't hurt.
yeah,
It hurts. She said it's not personal. No, it's very personal.
yeah,
It's very personal.
yeah.
an emotional thing. It hurts a little bit. It hurts you, it hurts me, but that's life, and
Yeah.
that's how life works.
Yeah, man. It's so many life lessons we've learned in the martial arts for sure, and it's ongoing. Brett, man, I really appreciate your time. This was such a fun conversation getting to catch up, but I learned things about you that, I didn't learn, or maybe I just forgot just over time, unfortunately, but it was really good to kind of pick up the pieces from where we left off all those years ago back in Tennessee. Before we do leave, though, I just want to leave off with two things. Are there any shout outs or anyone right now that comes to mind that you would like to thank? Anyone specific? It could be your parents or anyone really, bro.
Oh
So,
my oh my goodness. All right. So first of all, my wife, Christina, like
oh yeah,
without her and without her support, I would not be anywhere near where I'm at today, you
yeah,
know. So Christina, both my kids, Adam and Adeline, like they're my world and my life, you know. Um, from everyone from my parents to um taking me into that karate school when I was 6 years old to Mr. Kramer, Kelly Hausner, who was my actual first martial arts instructor. She was the one who taught all my classes and spent a lot of time with me as a kid, um, to honestly just everyone that I've met through the martial arts up until now.
yeah.
I have to gotta give a shout out to Dominic, he's like my right hand guy here at my studio. He's been doing like private lessons with me and things since he was 11 years old. Kind of worked
Wow.
his way all the way up. So it's it's really been an amazing journey. I have to thank you for having me on the podcast for reaching out, and when I don't text back, you just hit me up again, say,
Yeah.
"Hey, listen up, we got to do this thing."
Yeah,
Love
man, you're
that.
definitely someone that I wanted
So
on because when I first started this about 2 months ago, and well, also just yeah, thank you for sharing those shout outs. And I think it's important to, always give gratitude for those that, kind of help pave the way. But yeah, so my idea with this, so this really kind of just started maybe back in August. And I've always thought podcasting was pretty cool. And I kind of made like almost like a dream list. And bro, like you were definitely on the list. I wrote you down and, like I always write reasons why martial artist, coach, entrepreneur. And it just kind of gives me like a bullet point. But when I reached out, I'm thinking, man, I would love to have Brett on because it's someone that I know, someone that I can connect with, and I think you have a great story. Go ahead, bro.
well, so you keep saying that this is like a new thing, and this is new. But I remember Nick Arndt from years ago. You started Kumite Lifestyle
Yes,
as like a brand, right?
I
I
did.
Because I know somewhere in my closet I have a shirt that says Kumite Lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. So you were part of the original 20. So like the
Yeah.
sent out shirts. Okay, yeah. So I've always had the idea for Kumite Lifestyle. Well, not always, but there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was just fear, not really knowing like, where to start. And I kind of put it on the back burner there for a while. And then recently I just said, no, like I've really gotten into podcasting after COVID because that's all I really watched, during the quarantine
Sure.
was
Sure.
just videos. And it's crazy. Like if there's one good thing that came out of COVID was the ability to connect with folks over Zoom. So I
Yeah.
said, and then like I'm watching these people like, do their podcasts and I'm thinking, man, if that person can do it, or like there's no reason why I can't. And like I have such a great pool of people to pull from. It's either I do this now or I never do it. And now that I've done this, bro, it's like, man, I wish I would have started this much sooner, but I feel everything happens for a reason. I think because I have the drive and motivation now, I'm excelling at it now than maybe if I tried it back in 2017 or 2018, with the shirt. So, just a wipeout mindset, man, just always learning and always growing and just taking ownership and realizing like, man, stop being so scared and just do it, because you got people out there that want to see you succeed and you know, here we are, like, doing what we love.
I love that. I love that. I love that. You had an idea and it like didn't quite work, but you overcame that fear or procrastination or whatever it was,
Oh
and
yeah.
you overcame it, and and now you're making things happen. I love
Yeah,
that.
man. Yeah, man. Thank you, bro. And I thank you for being on the show. Where can people find you? Like, social media, your academy.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Brett Thomasson on Facebook, Kung Fu Brett on Instagram.
Yep.
Um, but but that's really the two biggest places. You can also find me at ylaignite.com. That's my new leadership academy. So ylaignite.com, and we do online lessons on there, kind of born out of the COVID era, kind of the
Yeah.
Zoom thing, right? So we do online leadership and mentorship coaching for the youth, kids ages 10 to 17.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, guys. So if you're watching that, definitely check that out and check out his social media, Kung Fu Brett, give him a follow. And Brett, again, man, thank you so much for your time and energy. It was phenomenal having you on the show and just, as I said, getting to, connect with you. And I hope the viewers enjoy this. And more importantly, bro, I hope you enjoyed being on today's platform.
Love it. I appreciate you, Nick. Thank you so much.
All right, man, take care.